Do you remember the quirky, sometimes baffling dishes your parents or grandparents served without a second thought? In the 1960s, foods that seem unthinkable today, from gelatin salads to meat and cereal combinations, were completely normal at American tables. These recipes tell a story of convenience, creativity, and mid-century culinary experimentation that shaped family meals for a generation. Join us as we explore 30 of the most surprising, imaginative, and downright unforgettable foods that defined kitchens of the 1960s. Tuna noodle casserole with cream of mushroom soup. Tuna noodle casserole was the ultimate mid-century comfort food, a dish that somehow managed to be both humble and heroic at the family dinner table. Born in the post-war 1950s and reigning through the 1960s, it was a staple of American kitchens where frugality met creativity. The dish relied on pantry and fridge staples: canned tuna, egg noodles, cream of mushroom soup, and often a handful of frozen peas. A sprinkling of crushed potato chips or breadcrumbs on top added a crunchy contrast to the creamy, cheesy interior. It was quick, budget-friendly, and endlessly adaptable, making it a lifesaver for busy mothers, young cooks, and anyone looking to feed a hungry family without fuss or expense. Making tuna noodle casserole required little more than assembly, yet it carried lessons in resourcefulness. The noodles were cooked al dente, the tuna flaked and mixed into the creamy mushroom base, and peas or other vegetables were folded in for color and nutrition. Everything was poured into a casserole dish, topped with a golden, crunchy layer, and baked until bubbling. Beyond its convenience, the dish became a canvas for family preferences. Extra cheese here, a dash of onion powder there, maybe even a splash of ketchup for some households. It wasn't just dinner, it was tradition, shared stories, and the aroma of warmth wafting through the kitchen, signaling that everyone had a plate waiting for them. Today, tuna noodle casserole feels almost quaint, replaced by fast food, microwavable meals, and Pinterest-ready dishes. Yet revisiting it offers more than flavor. It's a glimpse into a time when home cooking meant stretching ingredients, feeding a family with care, and finding comfort in simplicity. Every creamy, savory bite tells a story of ingenuity, resilience, and the kind of culinary creativity that turned canned tuna and a can of mushroom soup into a dish that still resonates decades later. Tuna noodle casserole proves that comfort food doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be made with care. Jell-O salad with vegetables. Jell-O salad with vegetables is a dish that perfectly captures the adventurous and inventive spirit of 1960s American kitchens. At first glance, it may seem unusual, even unappetizing to modernize. Bright, wobbly gelatin infused with shredded carrots, chopped celery, or even peas, often set in a mold and chilled until firm. Yet back then, it was celebrated for its visual appeal, its playful texture, and its ability to stretch simple, affordable ingredients into something both fun and functional on the family table. The combination of sweet, tangy gelatin with crisp, savory vegetables created a contrast that might seem odd today, but reflected a time when frugality, presentation, and novelty were key. The origins of Jell-O salad lie in post-war American optimism and the rise of convenience foods. Gelatin was cheap, shelf-stable, and versatile, while vegetables could be added for nutrition, color, and variety. Preparing the dish required patience and precision. Dissolving the gelatin correctly, folding in the vegetables, and letting it sit long enough to hold its shape. Many families added extras like chopped pineapple, shredded cheese, or even mayonnaise to create a layered effect that turned a simple salad into a centerpiece worthy of holidays or Sunday dinners. It was a dish that sparked conversation and curiosity, teaching young cooks about balance, texture, and presentation. Today, Jell-O vegetable salads are rarely seen outside retro-themed dinners or nostalgic gatherings, often replaced by fresh greens and vinaigrettes. Revisiting this wobbly creation offers more than a taste of an unusual flavor combination. It's a glimpse into a period of culinary experimentation, creativity, and practicality. Each chilled, colorful slice tells a story of ingenuity, resourcefulness, and a willingness to embrace the whimsical side of home cooking. Jell-O salad reminds us that sometimes comfort food wasn't just about taste. It was about imagination, tradition, and making the most of what you had. Ambrosia salad with marshmallows. Ambrosia salad with marshmallows is a quintessential 1960s dessert that embodies both whimsy and practicality in American kitchens. This sweet, creamy concoction combines canned fruit, often pineapple, mandarin oranges, and maraschino cherries, with miniature marshmallows, shredded coconut, and a generous dollop of whipped cream or mayonnaise. The result was a vibrant, fluffy salad that looked as cheerful as it tasted, serving as a festive centerpiece for holiday dinners, potlucks, or Sunday meals. It was light, sweet, and surprisingly filling, turning pantry staples into a dish that felt celebratory without demanding expensive or elaborate ingredients. The origins of ambrosia salad trace back to the post-war era, when convenience foods and canned goods were booming in popularity. Cooks embraced the versatility of marshmallows and canned fruit, balancing sweetness, texture, and visual appeal. Preparing ambrosia required little more than draining, folding, and chilling, yet it offered room for family variation. Some added nuts for crunch, others a splash of maraschino cherry juice for extra color, while a few experimented with crushed pineapple or mandarin segments for added tang. It was a dish that invited participation, with children often helping fold ingredients or sprinkle coconut over the top, making it as much about communal joy as flavor. Today, ambrosia salad may seem like a retro relic, replaced by lighter fruit salads or yogurt parfaits, yet it endures as a nostalgic comfort food that evokes memory, family, and the creativity of mid-century home cooking. Each fluffy, colorful spoonful is a reminder of kitchens that celebrated both practicality and playfulness, where sweet, simple ingredients could be transformed into something cheerful, festive, and enduring. Ambrosia salad with marshmallows proves that even the humblest pantry staples, handled with care and imagination, can create a dish that delights across generations. Spam loaf. Spam loaf is a dish that perfectly captures the ingenuity, frugality, and sometimes quirky spirit of 1960s American home cooking. At its core, it combines canned spam, a processed, shelf-stable meat, with eggs, breadcrumbs, and seasonings, molded into a loaf and baked until golden and firm. The result was a hearty, protein-packed centerpiece that could stretch to feed a family or provide multiple meals, often sliced cold for sandwiches the next day, or served hot with a simple side of vegetables. It was practical, inexpensive, and surprisingly versatile, turning an ordinary pantry staple into a comforting, filling meal. The origins of spam loaf lie in post-war ingenuity and the rise of processed foods. Spam itself became a staple due to its long shelf life, affordability, and ease of preparation. Housewives and home cooks transformed it with creativity, folding in breadcrumbs, chopped onions, or even cheese to enhance flavor and texture. Baking the loaf required minimal effort, yet it demanded attention to seasoning and moisture so that the final dish was flavorful and tender, rather than dry or bland. Families often served it for Sunday dinners or casual weekday meals, appreciating both its ease and the clever use of what was available. Today, Spam loaf is largely forgotten outside retro-themed dinners or nostalgic cookbooks, often replaced by fresh meats or pre-packaged convenience items. Revisiting it offers more than a taste of processed nostalgia. It's a glimpse into kitchens where resourcefulness, thrift, and practicality were celebrated. Each slice carries a story of ingenuity and adaptation, demonstrating how mid-century cooks could transform a simple can of meat into a dish that was both comforting and memorable. Spam loaf reminds us that comfort food isn't always fancy. Sometimes it's about clever use of ingredients, flavor, and the love with which a meal is prepared. Chicken a la king in pastry shells. Chicken a la king in pastry shells is a dish that perfectly illustrates the elegance meets practicality ethos of 1960s American home cooking. Tender pieces of chicken were smothered in a rich, creamy sauce made with butter, milk, and sometimes a touch of sherry, then combined with colorful diced vegetables like bell peppers, mushrooms, and pimentos. This luscious mixture was spooned into flaky, pre-baked pastry shells, creating individual servings that looked as sophisticated as they tasted. The dish brought a touch of luxury to everyday dining, turning simple ingredients into a celebratory meal that could impress guests or delight a family around the dinner table. The origins of chicken a la king date back earlier in the 20th century, but by the 1960s, the dish became a mid-century staple thanks to convenience ingredients like canned mushrooms and pre-made pastry shells. Preparing it required skill in balancing the sauce's richness with the delicate texture of the chicken and vegetables, ensuring that the filling was creamy but not runny. Families often used the dish for Sunday dinners, potlucks, or holiday gatherings, appreciating its eye-catching presentation and comforting, savory flavor. The process also encouraged learning in the kitchen, as cooks mastered making a roux, seasoning thoughtfully, and assembling individual portions with care. Today, chicken a la king in pastry shells feels almost theatrical, replaced in many homes by simpler casseroles or convenience meals. Yet it remains a vivid reminder of mid-century culinary creativity. Each buttery, creamy, vegetable-studded bite reflects a time when cooks sought to transform accessible ingredients into dishes that combined flavor, elegance, and warmth. Chicken a la king in pastry shells proves that comfort food can be both nourishing and refined, offering a glimpse into kitchens where imagination and care turned everyday meals into memorable experiences. Baked Alaska. Baked Alaska is a dessert that perfectly embodies the showmanship and culinary ambition of 1960s American kitchens. At first glance, it looks like a snowy mountain of sweetness, a dome of ice cream perched atop a sponge cake base, enveloped in a golden toasted meringue shell. The dramatic presentation, often flambéed at the table for extra flair, made it a favorite for special occasions, from birthdays to holiday feasts. Despite its elaborate appearance, it was achievable in home kitchens with careful timing and attention, turning humble ingredients like eggs, sugar, cake, and ice cream into a dessert that wowed both the eyes and the taste buds. The origins of Baked Alaska reach back to the 19th century, but by the 1960s, it had become a symbol of mid-century showmanship. often featured in cookbooks and dinner parties that emphasized presentation as much as flavor. Preparing it required precision. The cake had to be moist yet sturdy, the ice cream frozen solid, and the meringue whipped to stiff peaks and browned quickly without melting the ice cream underneath. Families often treated it as a centerpiece dessert, with children watching in awe as the meringue turned golden under the broiler or torch, and adults delighting in both the spectacle and the rich combination of textures and flavors. Today, baked Alaska is rarely made at home, replaced by freezer desserts or store-bought cakes, yet it remains a nostalgic symbol of culinary creativity and daring. Each bite combines the warmth of toasted meringue, the tender sweetness of sponge cake, and the cool creaminess of ice cream, evoking a sense of occasion and delight. Baked Alaska reminds us that mid-century comfort food wasn't just about nourishment. It was about imagination, presentation, and the joy of turning ordinary ingredients into something extraordinary and unforgettable. Pineapple upside-down cake with maraschino cherries. Pineapple upside-down cake with maraschino cherries is a quintessential 1960s dessert, a perfect example of how home cooks transformed simple pantry staples into something visually striking and sweetly indulgent. Sliced canned pineapple rings were arranged neatly in a buttered, sugar-coated pan, topped with a bright red maraschino cherry in each center, and covered with a buttery cake batter. During baking, the sugar caramelized, the fruit sank slightly, and the aroma of caramelized pineapple and buttery cake filled the kitchen, signaling a dessert that was both comforting and celebratory. When inverted onto a serving plate, the glossy fruit crowned the golden cake, creating a show-stopping centerpiece for any family meal or potluck. The origins of the pineapple upside-down cake predate the 1960s, but the dish became a mid-century staple thanks to the popularity of canned pineapple and the convenience of boxed cake mixes. Preparing it required care and timing, ensuring the caramelized sugar didn't burn, the pineapple remained intact, and the cake baked evenly. Families often involve children in arranging the fruit, teaching them the art of presentation while fostering a sense of pride in homemade baking. It was a dessert that was as much about visual delight and communal preparation as it was about flavor, a sweet reward for frugal, resourceful cooks who made the most of accessible ingredients. Today, pineapple upside-down cake feels nostalgically retro, replaced in many kitchens by frosted layer cakes or quick desserts, yet it endures as a symbol of mid-century ingenuity. Each slice delivers a perfect balance of buttery cake, caramelized fruit, and the cheerful pop of a cherry, evoking warmth, family gatherings, and the creativity of cooks who turned canned fruit into edible celebration. Pineapple upside-down cake reminds us that comfort food is often as much about joy and imagination as it is about taste. TV dinner with mystery meat sections. The TV dinner with mystery meat sections is perhaps one of the most iconic and now slightly unnerving symbols of 1960s convenience cooking. These frozen trays offered a complete meal in compartments, a protein of uncertain origin, a few vegetable sides, and a starch like mashed potatoes or macaroni, all designed to heat quickly in the oven. At the time, this was revolutionary. Families could sit in front of the television, pop the tray into the oven, and have a hot, portioned meal without the fuss of traditional cooking. The mystery meat became part of the fun or dread of the era, a culinary gamble that added intrigue to mealtime. The origins of the TV dinner traced to post-war innovations in frozen foods and the rise of television as a central family activity. Companies like Swanson capitalized on the desire for convenience, marketing these trays as a modern, time-saving solution. Preparing a TV dinner was simple. Remove the foil lid, heat, and serve, requiring little more than patience for the oven timer. Families appreciated the ability to feed hungry children or themselves without disrupting their evening routines, while also marveling at the novelty of a pre-portioned, compartmentalized meal that seemed futuristic at the time. Today, TV dinners are mostly remembered with a mix of nostalgia and skepticism, replaced by meal kits, fast food, and frozen entrees with clearer ingredients. Yet revisiting them offers insight into 1960s American life, the intersection of convenience, industrial innovation, and evolving dining habits. Each section of a TV dinner, from the unidentifiable protein to the sometimes overcooked vegetables, tells a story of mid-century ingenuity, practicality, and the beginnings of a new era in home cooking. Despite their quirks, these trays were a lifeline for busy families, and a snapshot of a time when the future of food was frozen, compartmentalized, and sometimes deliciously mysterious. Meatloaf with hidden vegetables. Meatloaf with hidden vegetables is a dish that perfectly captures the practical creativity of 1960s American home cooking. At its core, it was a simple mixture of ground beef, eggs, breadcrumbs, and seasonings. But savvy cooks often folded in finely grated carrots, zucchini, or onions to add moisture, nutrition, and bulk without altering the familiar, comforting flavor. The result was a hearty, savory loaf that could feed a family on a budget, stretch limited meat supplies, and sneak extra vegetables onto plates without protest from picky eaters. Topped with a tangy tomato glaze and baked to perfection, meatloaf became a symbol of both frugality and culinary ingenuity. The origins of vegetable-studded meatloaf lie in post-war America, when resourcefulness in the kitchen was essential. Housewives and home cooks discovered that incorporating hidden vegetables not only improved the nutritional value of the meal, but also kept the loaf tender and flavorful. Preparing it required attention to balance. Too many vegetables could make the loaf mushy, while too few might leave the texture dry. Families often shared tips across generations, teaching young cooks the art of grating, seasoning, and shaping a loaf that would impress both visually and on the palate. Today, meatloaf with hidden vegetables has largely fallen out of favor, replaced by quick protein-centric meals or frozen entrees. Yet it remains a nostalgic reminder of mid-century kitchens where care, creativity, and practicality reigned. Each slice tells a story of ingenuity, family dinners, and the subtle ways cooks incorporated nutrition without compromising taste. Meatloaf with hidden vegetables proves that comfort food doesn't have to be flashy. It thrives on balance, love, and the ability to transform simple ingredients into a dish that nourishes both body and soul. Creamed corn casserole. Creamed corn casserole is a dish that embodies the comforting simplicity and ingenuity of 1960s American home cooking. This creamy, slightly sweet casserole combined canned or fresh corn with ingredients like eggs, butter, milk, and sometimes a touch of sugar or flour, baked until it set into a golden, custardy side dish. Its appeal lay in its ease of preparation, its ability to feed a crowd, and the warmth it brought to the dinner table, pairing beautifully with roasted meats, fried chicken, or holiday feasts. The soft, tender texture and naturally sweet flavor made it a favorite for both weeknight meals and celebratory occasions alike. The origins of creamed corn casserole are rooted in mid-century practicality and a love of comforting, familiar flavors. Cooks relied on canned corn to save time, while simple pantry staples transformed it into something special and substantial. Preparation was straightforward. Combine the corn with milk, butter, and eggs, pour into a casserole dish, and bake until the top is lightly golden. Families often experimented with slight variations, adding shredded cheese, a sprinkle of paprika, or even crushed crackers on top for texture, making it a versatile side that could reflect personal or regional tastes. Today, creamed corn casserole is less common on everyday tables, often replaced by simpler roasted vegetables or instant side dishes, but it remains a nostalgic symbol of mid-century kitchens. Each creamy, tender spoonful recalls the aromas of home, the ease of shared meals, and the creative use of accessible ingredients. Creamed corn casserole reminds us that comfort food doesn't need to be complicated. Sometimes, simple ingredients, baked with care and love, are all it takes to create a dish that nourishes, delights, and endures across generations. Gelatin meat mold. Gelatin meat molds are perhaps one of the most emblematic and now eyebrow-raising dishes of 1960s American home cooking. These molds combined cooked meats, vegetables, and sometimes hard-boiled eggs suspended in savory gelatin, poured into decorative molds, and chilled until firm. When unmolded, they presented an eye-catching, wobbly centerpiece that showcased both creativity and precision, turning ordinary ingredients into a conversation starter for dinner parties, potlucks, or holiday meals. To contemporary tastes, the idea of eating meat set in gelatin may seem unusual, but in mid-century kitchens, it was considered modern, stylish, and efficient. A way to impress guests while stretching ingredients. The origins of gelatin meat molds stem from the post-war fascination with convenience foods and the popularity of Knox gelatin as a versatile cooking ingredient. Preparing these molds required skill. Meats had to be cooked and chopped to the right size, vegetables blanched or softened, and the gelatin flavored and poured correctly to ensure it set without collapsing. Families often took pride in arranging colorful ingredients in intricate patterns, demonstrating both culinary flair and an understanding of chemistry in the kitchen. Children were sometimes enlisted to help layer ingredients, learning patience and care in the process, while adults enjoyed the spectacle of serving a dish that was as much visual art as it was nourishment. Today, gelatin meat molds are largely absent from mainstream kitchens, replaced by salads, casseroles, or other cold dishes with more familiar textures. Yet revisiting them offers insight into a time when culinary creativity, thrift, and presentation converged in everyday cooking. Each firm, savory slice tells a story of mid-century ingenuity, the desire to entertain with flair, and the resourcefulness of cooks who transformed simple ingredients into dishes that were both practical and theatrical. Gelatin meat molds remind us that comfort food can be inventive, surprising, and delightfully wobbly. Shrimp cocktail with secret sauce. Shrimp cocktail with secret sauce is a dish that epitomized 1960s elegance and convenience, a staple at dinner parties and holiday gatherings alike. Plump cooked shrimp were arranged around a glass or on a platter, paired with a bright, tangy sauce made from ketchup, horseradish, lemon juice, and spices. sometimes with a home cook's secret twist of Worcestershire sauce, hot sauce, or a splash of cream. The result was a refreshing, slightly spicy appetizer that looked sophisticated, tasted bold, and required minimal preparation, making it a go-to for hosts who wanted flair without hours in the kitchen. In an era when frozen seafood was gaining popularity, shrimp cocktails offered the perfect balance of modern convenience and classy presentation. The origins of shrimp cocktail trace back to early 20th century dining trends, but it became a mid-century showpiece as canned and frozen seafood made the dish more accessible to home cooks. Preparation involved boiling or thawing shrimp to just the right texture, chilling them thoroughly, and whisking together the tangy sauce that gave the dish its signature punch. Families and hosts took pride in the presentation, arranging the shrimp carefully, sometimes in individual glasses, to impress guests. The secret sauce allowed cooks to add a personal touch, making each version slightly different and a point of culinary pride. Today, shrimp cocktails feel nostalgically retro, often replaced by modern appetizers or sushi. Yet it remains a reminder of mid-century ingenuity and the desire to entertain with minimal stress. Each chilled, perfectly spiced bite evokes the sophistication and excitement of family celebrations, dinner parties, and holiday tables. Shrimp cocktails with secret sauce proves that comfort food doesn't have to be hearty or homey. It can also be elegant, playful, and deeply rooted in tradition and presentation. Grape salad with marshmallows. Grape salad with marshmallows is a quintessential 1960s American side dish that blends whimsy, sweetness, and convenience in one colorful bowl. Juicy seedless grapes were combined with miniature marshmallows, a dollop of sour cream or cream cheese, and sometimes a sprinkle of brown sugar or chopped nuts for added texture. The result was a creamy, sweet, slightly tangy salad that felt indulgent, yet relied entirely on affordable, shelf-stable ingredients. Served chilled, it became a festive addition to holiday tables, potlucks, or Sunday dinners, providing a playful counterpoint to more traditional vegetables or heavier sides. The origins of grape salad with marshmallows are tied to the mid-century fascination with sweet, refrigerated salads that could be prepared ahead of time. Housewives and home cooks embraced the dish for its simplicity and visual appeal. The contrast between the purple grapes and the white marshmallows made for a striking presentation, while the creamy dressing held everything together. Preparing it required minimal effort, just folding together the ingredients and chilling the mixture. But it offered ample opportunity for customization. Some families added chopped walnuts or pecans for crunch, a splash of vanilla for flavor, or substituted yogurt for a lighter version. Today, grape salad with marshmallows is often seen as a retro treat, overshadowed by fresh fruit platters or healthier desserts. Yet it endures as a symbol of mid-century creativity and playful presentation. Each bite offers a mix of textures, sweetness, and nostalgia, evoking kitchens where convenience, cheer, and indulgence coexisted. Grape salad with marshmallows reminds us that comfort food doesn't always have to be hot or savory. Sometimes it's the chilled, creamy, colorful dishes that capture the heart and memory of a family meal. Cheese and gelatin mold. Cheese and gelatin mold is one of those quintessentially 1960s dishes that might raise eyebrows today, but was once a showpiece on American dining tables. Combining processed cheese, sometimes bits of vegetables or pimentos, with flavored gelatin, the mixture was poured into decorative molds and chilled until firm. The result was a wobbly, savory sweet creation that dazzled guests with its unusual texture and striking appearance. It was both an appetizer and a conversation starter, embodying the mid-century fascination with convenience foods, refrigeration, and inventive presentation. The origins of cheese and gelatin molds are rooted in post-war America, when packaged ingredients like Jell-O and processed cheese were celebrated for their shelf stability and ease of use. Preparing the dish required careful attention to ratios and temperature. Too hot and the gelatin would separate. Too cold and it wouldn't set properly. Families often personalized the mold with garnishes, bits of nuts, or decorative shapes, making it both a culinary experiment and a creative outlet. It was a dish that encouraged imagination in the kitchen, while also showcasing the host's ability to transform humble, affordable ingredients into something festive and visually appealing. Today, cheese and gelatin molds have largely vanished from contemporary tables, replaced by fresh cheeses, dips, or finger foods. Yet they remain a fascinating glimpse into mid-century American tastes and ingenuity. Each slice tells a story of resourcefulness, whimsy, and the desire to impress with creativity rather than extravagance. Cheese and gelatin molds remind us that comfort food can be both playful and practical, and that even the simplest ingredients can be transformed into a dish that sparks delight, nostalgia, and conversation. Pickled pig's feet. Pickled pig's feet are a dish that perfectly illustrates the resourcefulness and bold flavors of 1960s Southern kitchens. Once considered a humble cut, pig's feet were transformed through brining and pickling into a tangy, savory treat that could be enjoyed cold or heated. The pickling process preserved the meat while infusing it with vinegar, spices, and sometimes a touch of sugar, creating a complex flavor that balanced richness with acidity. Served as an appetizer, snack, or side dish, pickled pig's feet were both economical and flavorful, a testament to a time when no part of the animal went to waste. The origins of pickled pig's feet lie in Southern and African American culinary traditions, where frugality met culinary creativity. Preparing the dish required patience and care. The feet had to be cleaned, boiled until tender, and then simmered or soaked in a seasoned vinegar brine long enough to develop deep flavor. Families often passed down recipes from generation to generation, each adding their own twist with spices, peppers, or herbs, creating a dish that was as personal as it was practical. Beyond sustenance, pickled pig's feet were a cultural marker, appearing at family gatherings, church socials, and holiday tables, embodying resilience, ingenuity, and pride in making the most of available ingredients. Today, pickled pig's feet are rarely found outside specialty markets or nostalgic kitchens, yet revisiting them offers a taste of history and a connection to mid-century Southern food culture. Each tangy, gelatinous bite tells a story of resourcefulness, flavor, and tradition. Pickled pig's feet remind us that comfort food is about more than sweetness or convenience. It's about skill, history, and the ability to transform the humble into something memorable and deeply satisfying. Celery stuffed olives. Celery stuffed olives are a quintessential 1960s appetizer, perfectly capturing the era's flair for convenience, presentation, and playful flavors. Pitted green olives were filled with crisp celery sticks, sometimes accented with pimentos, and served chilled on cocktail trays at parties, holiday gatherings, or Sunday dinners. The combination offered a satisfying crunch, a salty tang from the olive, and a refreshing bite from the celery. a simple yet sophisticated snack that became a staple of mid-century entertaining. It was a dish that made a statement with minimal effort, signaling both thoughtfulness and attention to presentation in the host's repertoire. The origins of celery stuffed olives lie in the post-war fascination with hors d'oeuvres and the rise of cocktail culture in American homes. Housewives and hosts embraced this snack for its ease, elegance, and ability to stretch ingredients while looking festive. Preparing them required little more than careful stuffing and arranging on a serving dish, but creativity often came into play. Some families added a dab of cream cheese, a slice of pimento, or skewered them with tiny picks for a more decorative touch. The dish became a conversation starter, a way to showcase hospitality and ingenuity without extensive cooking or elaborate ingredients. Today, celery stuffed olives are rarely seen outside retro-themed parties or nostalgia-driven appetizers, replaced by fresh veggie trays or elaborate dips. Yet revisiting them offers insight into mid-century culinary creativity, practicality, and the joy of small, thoughtful bites. Each crisp, tangy olive tells a story of presentation, flavor, and the clever ways home cooks transform simple ingredients into something memorable. Celery stuffed olives remind us that comfort food isn't always about hearty meals. It can also be the small, satisfying snacks that elevate a gathering and delight the palate. Corned beef and cabbage in jellied form. Corned beef and cabbage in jellied form is a dish that perfectly exemplifies the experimental spirit of 1960s American kitchens. Traditionally a hearty Irish-American meal, it was transformed into a cold, gelatin-based creation that combined shredded corned beef, tender cabbage, and sometimes carrots or onions suspended in savory aspic. Chilled until firm, it was sliced and served as an appetizer or side, offering a unique texture and visual appeal that made it a conversation piece at St. Patrick's Day dinners, potlucks, or holiday tables. While it might seem unusual today, in the mid-century household, this approach reflected a fascination with presentation, preservation, and the clever use of affordable ingredients. The origins of jellied corned beef and cabbage tie into post-war culinary trends that emphasized convenience and novelty. Knox gelatin and other packaged gel products were marketed as versatile tools for home cooks, allowing them to turn familiar meals into molded, elegant dishes with minimal effort. Preparing this dish required some care. The meat and vegetables had to be cooked to the right tenderness, the gelatin seasoned and dissolved properly, and the mold chilled long enough to hold its shape. Families often took pride in the precise arrangement of layers, creating a visually striking dish that combined practicality with creativity. Today, corned beef and cabbage in jellied form is rarely seen, overshadowed by traditional hot preparations or fresh salads. Yet revisiting it offers a glimpse into mid-century ingenuity, the intersection of comfort food and experimentation, and a time when home cooks embraced both flavor and flair. Each firm, savory slice tells a story of resourcefulness, presentation, and a willingness to take familiar ingredients and turn them into something surprising. Corned beef and cabbage in jellied form reminds us that comfort food can be both inventive and deeply rooted in tradition. Chocolate mayonnaise cake. Chocolate mayonnaise cake is a quintessential 1960s dessert that demonstrates the era's ingenuity and love for rich, moist cakes made with pantry staples. At first glance, it may sound odd, using mayonnaise in a chocolate cake, but the ingredient cleverly replaces eggs and butter, creating a tender, velvety texture while keeping the cake surprisingly moist. often topped with a simple chocolate frosting or dusting of powdered sugar. It became a favorite for birthdays, potlucks, and everyday family dinners, offering indulgence without the need for expensive ingredients. Its simplicity, combined with a secret twist, made it a hit among home cooks looking to impress without spending hours in the kitchen. The origins of chocolate mayonnaise cake lie in mid-century practicality, when convenience, affordability, and resourcefulness were highly valued in American households. Preparing it was straightforward. Combine flour, sugar, cocoa powder, and mayonnaise. Whisk in a little water or milk, and bake until a rich, chocolatey aroma filled the kitchen. Families often experimented with variations, adding nuts, chocolate chips, or different frostings to suit taste and occasion. Beyond its flavor, the cake carried emotional weight. It was a dish that could be shared with neighbors, brought to school events, or served after Sunday dinner, symbolizing the warmth and generosity of home cooking. Today, chocolate mayonnaise cake may feel unusual, replaced by modern butter-heavy or boxed cake mixes. Yet, it remains a nostalgic reminder of mid-century creativity. Each slice tells a story of resourcefulness, comfort, and culinary confidence, proving that with a little imagination, even the most unconventional ingredients can produce something memorable. Chocolate mayonnaise cake reminds us that comfort food isn't always about tradition. It's about finding clever ways to delight the senses and bring people together. Egg and meat gelatin breakfast loaf. Egg and meat gelatin breakfast loaf is a daringly inventive dish from the 1960s that embodies the era's fascination with molded foods and convenience cooking. This cold, wobbly loaf combined cooked chopped meats, like ham or bacon, with hard-boiled eggs suspended in savory gelatin, often seasoned with salt, pepper, and herbs. Chilled until firm, it was sliced and served as a protein-packed breakfast or brunch item, offering both a visually striking presentation and a surprisingly satisfying texture. To modern eyes, the idea may seem unusual, but in its time, it was considered practical, efficient, and a conversation starter at family gatherings or potlucks. The origins of the egg and meat gelatin loaf tie into mid-century trends, where gelatin was celebrated as a versatile tool in home cooking. Preparing it required careful layering. Meats and eggs had to be arranged evenly in a mold. The gelatin dissolved and flavored properly, and the loaf chilled long enough to set completely. Families often took pride in experimenting with patterns, using herbs or vegetables to add color and appeal. It was a dish that encouraged creativity while stretching ingredients, turning simple proteins into a showy, ready-to-serve centerpiece that impressed both children and adults alike. Today, the egg and meat gelatin loaf has largely disappeared from American kitchens, replaced by quick breakfast sandwiches or protein bowls. Yet it remains a fascinating example of mid-century ingenuity. Each chilled, firm slice tells a story of practicality, presentation, and the willingness to experiment with texture and form in home cooking. Egg and meat gelatin breakfast loaf reminds us that comfort food can be as much about imagination and resourcefulness as it is about taste, and that even the most unusual dishes can hold a special place in culinary history. Sweet rolls with canned fruit filling. Sweet rolls with canned fruit filling are a comforting hallmark of 1960s American kitchens, blending convenience, warmth, and a touch of indulgence. Soft yeasted rolls were often filled with canned fruits such as peaches, cherries, or apples, sometimes sweetened further with sugar or a dab of jam. Baked until golden and fragrant, the rolls emerged warm from the oven, releasing the sweet aroma of caramelized fruit and tender dough. A smell that instantly evoked cozy family breakfasts or holiday brunches. Their appeal lay in their simplicity and versatility. They could be served fresh for breakfast, wrapped as a portable snack, or offered at potlucks and school events. The origins of these sweet rolls trace to mid-century innovation and the popularity of canned fruit as a reliable, affordable ingredient. Preparing them required some attention to dough and rising times, but the filling was as simple as spooning canned fruit into each roll before baking. Families often customized the rolls by adding cinnamon, nuts, or a simple glaze, creating a personal touch that reflected regional tastes or family traditions. Children sometimes helped shape or fill the rolls, making the process a shared kitchen activity that combined learning, creativity, and delicious reward. Today, sweet rolls with canned fruit filling may seem quaint, often replaced by pre-packaged pastries or fresh fruit danishes, yet they remain a nostalgic symbol of mid-century home baking. Each warm, fruit-filled bite tells a story of practicality, care, and culinary creativity, offering both sweetness and sustenance. Sweet rolls with canned fruit filling remind us that comfort food is as much about the effort and love behind it as the flavors themselves, and that even simple ingredients, handled thoughtfully, can produce enduring delight. Frozen vegetable gelatin medley. Frozen vegetable gelatin medley is a dish that perfectly captures the playful experimentation and convenience-driven trends of 1960s American kitchens. Chopped vegetables, like carrots, peas, and green beans, were suspended in a savory gelatin base, often flavored with bouillon, vinegar, or a touch of seasoning, then frozen or chilled until firm. The result was a colorful, wobbly side dish that could be sliced and served as a unique accompaniment to meats or holiday spreads. To modernize, the texture may seem unusual, but in its heyday, it was considered innovative, visually striking, and an efficient way to present vegetables in a novel, attention-grabbing form. The origins of the frozen vegetable gelatin medley lie in the post-war fascination with gelatin's versatility and the rise of frozen and convenience foods. Preparing it required attention to proportions and timing. Vegetables needed to be tender yet firm, gelatin properly dissolved, and the mixture chilled or frozen long enough to set without separating. Many families enjoyed adding small variations, such as layers, chopped herbs, or even a sprinkling of cheese, creating a dish that balanced color, flavor, and presentation. The medley was often a highlight at potlucks, holiday dinners, or midweek meals, combining nutrition with novelty in a single practical dish. Today, frozen vegetable gelatin medleys are largely absent from contemporary kitchens, replaced by roasted or fresh vegetable sides, but they remain a nostalgic symbol of mid-century ingenuity. Each chilled, firm slice tells a story of experimentation, resourcefulness, and a willingness to embrace unusual textures and forms. Frozen vegetable gelatin medley reminds us that comfort food can be inventive, practical, and visually delightful, proving that even vegetables can become the star of the table with a little creativity. Tangy instant drink mixes. Tangy instant drink mixes are a quintessential symbol of 1960s American convenience and innovation, bringing bright flavors and fun to everyday beverages. Packaged as powders in vibrant envelopes, these mixes, like Kool-Aid or similar brands, transform plain water into sweet, tangy drinks with a spectrum of bold colors. They were inexpensive, easy to prepare, and endlessly adaptable. Children could adjust sweetness, mix flavors, or experiment with ratios, while parents appreciated the convenience for school lunches, picnics, or quick refreshments. Beyond flavor, these drinks were a social and cultural phenomenon, appearing at birthday parties, family gatherings, and community events as a cheerful, colorful treat. The origins of tangy instant drink mixes tie into the mid-century rise of processed foods and mass marketing to American households. Preparing the drinks was as simple as dissolving the powder in cold water and stirring. But the experience of choosing flavors, watching the liquid turn brilliant shades, and tasting the tart sweetness created a small ritual of enjoyment. Families often experimented with layering flavors, adjusting sweetness, or even adding ice for a frosty twist, turning an ordinary beverage into a creative, playful experience. These drinks also reflected the era's fascination with convenience and shelf-stable products, offering a tasty solution for busy households. Today, tangy instant drink mixes still exist but are largely nostalgic, replaced in many homes by bottled beverages, flavored waters, or fresh juices. Yet revisiting them offers a glimpse into mid-century ingenuity, family fun, and the excitement of simple culinary experimentation. Each brightly colored sip recalls childhood summers, shared laughter, and the joy of turning an ordinary glass of water into something memorable. Tangy instant drink mixes remind us that comfort food isn't always about sustenance. It's also about delight, creativity, and small pleasures that bring people together. Mock turtle soup. Mock turtle soup is a dish that embodies the resourcefulness and culinary creativity of 1960s American kitchens, drawing on a tradition that dates back even further. Inspired by the elaborate turtle soups of the 19th century, this version substituted inexpensive cuts of beef, often including organ meats like neck or shank, to replicate the rich flavor of turtle meat. Simmered with onions, carrots, herbs, and sometimes a splash of sherry or Worcestershire sauce, the soup was thickened with a roux or breadcrumbs, producing a hearty, savory dish that was both comforting and economical. It became a beloved choice for family dinners, Sunday meals, or special occasions, offering a taste of sophistication without the cost or scarcity of actual turtle. The origins of mock turtle soup lie in European culinary traditions, adapted by American cooks during times of thrift and practicality. Preparing the soup required patience. Meats had to be simmered until tender, vegetables chopped and cooked to release their flavor, and seasonings balanced carefully to achieve a rich, layered taste. Families often passed down personal variations, with some adding hard-boiled eggs, lemon juice, or a touch of cream to enhance texture and flavor. The dish was both practical and celebratory, showing that creativity and care could elevate humble ingredients into a memorable centerpiece. Today, mock turtle soup is rarely served in American homes, often replaced by simpler broths or creamy soups. Yet it remains a fascinating relic of mid-century culinary ingenuity. Each spoonful offers a glimpse into kitchens where thrift, flavor, and tradition converged. Mock turtle soup reminds us that comfort food is about more than convenience. It's about transforming modest ingredients into something rich, satisfying, and enduring, preserving both flavor and memory across generations. Liver pâté sandwiches. Liver pâté sandwiches are a classic example of mid-century American ingenuity. turning inexpensive organ meat into a sophisticated and flavorful meal. Smooth, seasoned liver pâté, often made from chicken or beef liver, was spread generously on slices of soft bread or toast, sometimes complemented with a sliver of pickle, a touch of mustard, or a sprinkle of herbs. The result was a rich, savory bite that balanced creamy texture with bold, earthy flavor, offering both nourishment and elegance in a simple, handheld form. For families seeking an affordable yet refined option, liver pâté sandwiches were a lunchtime staple or a highlight of casual gatherings. The origins of liver pâté sandwiches are rooted in European culinary traditions, brought to American kitchens and adapted for convenience and practicality. Preparing pâté required cooking the liver carefully to maintain a silky texture, blending it with butter, cream, and seasonings, and sometimes straining it for extra smoothness. Families often added personal touches, like onions, garlic, or spices, to make the spread their own. The sandwiches were easy to assemble, yet delivered layers of flavor, teaching cooks the balance between texture, seasoning, and presentation even in everyday meals. Today, liver pâté sandwiches are less common, often replaced by deli meats or sandwich spreads, yet they remain a nostalgic reminder of mid-century resourcefulness and culinary sophistication. Each creamy, savory bite tells a story of flavor, thrift, and the ability to elevate humble ingredients into a dish that feels indulgent. Liver pâté sandwiches remind us that comfort food doesn't always have to be warm or heavy. Sometimes it's the careful transformation of simple ingredients into something elegant and satisfying that leaves the most lasting impression. Canned ham with pineapple rings. Canned ham with pineapple rings is a quintessential 1960s American dish that perfectly blends convenience, visual appeal, and sweet savory flavor. A pre-cooked canned ham was sliced or glazed and topped with rings of canned pineapple, often secured with maraschino cherries in the center, then baked or broiled until caramelized and fragrant. The result was a striking centerpiece that looked festive and tasted indulgent, offering both ease of preparation and a touch of elegance for family dinners, Sunday gatherings, or holiday meals. Its popularity stemmed from its simplicity, affordability, and the theatrical presentation that made an everyday ingredient feel celebratory. The origins of this dish lie in post-war American kitchens, when canned meats and fruits were staples for busy families seeking quick and impressive meals. Preparing it required minimal effort, scoring the ham, arranging the pineapple rings, glazing with brown sugar or honey, and baking just long enough to caramelize flavors. Families often added personal twists, such as mustard glazes, cloves, or pineapple juice, enhancing both flavor and aroma. The combination of sweet fruit and savory ham delighted palates and ensured the dish stood out both visually and gastronomically at the table. Today, canned ham with pineapple rings is less common, largely replaced by fresh hams or roasted meats, yet it remains a nostalgic symbol of mid-century practicality and flair. Each slice delivers the perfect balance of salty, sweet, and tender meat, evoking memories of family meals, holiday tables, and kitchens where creativity and convenience intersected. Canned ham with pineapple rings reminds us that comfort food doesn't have to be complicated. With a little imagination, humble ingredients can be transformed into a dish that delights the senses and brings people together. Meat and cereal combinations. Meat and cereal combinations are a striking example of the experimental and resourceful spirit of 1960s American home cooking. These dishes paired cooked meats like ground beef, chicken, or leftover roasts, with breakfast or grain cereals such as cornflakes, oatmeal, or puffed rice, often to create crunchy coatings, fillings, or even loaf-style entrees. The goal was simple: stretch ingredients, add texture, and introduce novelty to everyday meals. While modern palates might find the pairing unusual, in their time, these combinations offered a practical, cost-effective way to turn modest pantry items into a filling, visually interesting dish. The origins of meat and cereal combinations lie in mid-century innovation and the rise of processed foods marketed for convenience. Housewives experimented with cereals as binders, crusts, or toppings, discovering that the grains added crispness, absorbed flavors, and made meat go further. Preparing these dishes required a balance between texture and flavor. Too much cereal could overwhelm, while too little might not achieve the desired crunch. Families often customized them with seasonings, vegetables, or sauces, making each variation uniquely their own, and teaching young cooks the importance of experimentation and resourcefulness in the kitchen. Today, meat and cereal combinations are largely forgotten, replaced by prepackaged casseroles, breaded meats, or more conventional comfort foods. Yet they offer a fascinating glimpse into mid-century ingenuity. Each bite tells a story of creativity, thrift, and a willingness to explore unusual textures in pursuit of flavor and practicality. Meat and cereal combinations remind us that comfort food can be inventive and surprising, proving that even everyday pantry staples can be transformed into meals that are nourishing, memorable, and distinctly of their time. Gelatin-based cocktails. Gelatin-based cocktails are a quintessentially 1960s invention, reflecting the era's fascination with novelty, convenience, and playful presentation. These drinks combined flavored gelatin with alcohol, often vodka, gin, or rum, poured into molds or cups and chilled until firm, creating wobbly, colorful beverages that were as much fun to serve as to eat. Served at dinner parties, holiday gatherings, or cocktail hours, gelatin cocktails offered a striking interactive experience. Guests could slice, scoop, or nibble their drink, blurring the line between dessert and libation. Their popularity stemmed from the way they turned ordinary spirits into festive, visually engaging creations with minimal effort. The origins of gelatin-based cocktails are tied to mid-century American innovation in processed foods and entertaining. Knox Gelatin and other gel products were marketed as versatile, allowing home cooks and hosts to create unique shapes and flavors, while the addition of alcohol added sophistication and a playful edge. Preparing the cocktails required attention to ratios and timing. Too little gelatin and the mixture wouldn't set. Too much and it could be rubbery. Hosts often experimented with layered colors, molded shapes, or garnishes to enhance presentation, turning a simple beverage into a showpiece. Today, gelatin-based cocktails are rarely seen outside retro-themed parties or nostalgic events, replaced by classic mixed drinks, craft cocktails, or frozen beverages. Yet they remain a vivid reminder of mid-century creativity, ingenuity, and the desire to delight guests with fun, unexpected culinary experiences. Each wobbly, flavorful bite captures a moment in history when comfort food and entertainment intersected, proving that even drinks can be playful, inventive, and deeply memorable. Gelatin-based cocktails remind us that culinary fun is timeless. Sometimes the most enjoyable dishes are those that surprise and amuse. Carbonated fruit cups. Carbonated fruit cups are a nostalgic nod to 1960s American ingenuity in home entertaining, blending fresh or canned fruits with fizzy soda or carbonated water to create a playful, refreshing treat. Fruits like peaches, pineapple, grapes, or cherries were combined with sweetened, sparkling beverages, sometimes enhanced with a splash of juice or a few maraschino cherries for extra flair. Served chilled in individual cups or glass bowls, these fruity concoctions were ideal for parties, potlucks, or family gatherings, offering a light, effervescent alternative to heavier desserts and a visually appealing burst of color in a glass. The origins of carbonated fruit cups are rooted in mid-century experimentation with convenience foods and the rising popularity of soda as a household staple. Preparing them was simple yet versatile. Layer the fruit, pour the sparkling liquid over, and allow the flavors to mingle, sometimes adding a sprinkle of sugar or a dollop of whipped topping. Families often got creative with presentation, using cocktail glasses or decorative cups to elevate what was essentially a simple, inexpensive dish. The effervescence of the soda paired with the natural sweetness of the fruit delighted both children and adults, making it a crowd-pleasing addition to any table. Today, carbonated fruit cups are largely forgotten, replaced by fruit salads, smoothies, or chilled desserts. But they remain a charming example of mid-century culinary resourcefulness and flair. Each sparkling bite captures the joy of experimentation, the appeal of convenience, and the simple pleasure of transforming everyday ingredients into something festive and fun. Carbonated fruit cups remind us that comfort food isn't always warm or rich. Sometimes it's light, fizzy, and bursting with color, bringing a sense of whimsy to the table. Egg creams made at home. Egg creams made at home are a sweet and frothy relic of mid-20th century American kitchens, especially beloved in urban households of the 1950s and 1960s. Despite the name, these drinks contain neither egg nor cream. Instead, they are a delightful combination of cold milk, seltzer, and chocolate syrup, whipped together to create a fizzy, creamy beverage that delighted children and adults alike. Served in tall glasses with a straw, egg creams were both refreshing and indulgent, offering a playful, effervescent experience that could be made in seconds, but felt like a treat straight from a soda fountain. The origins of the egg cream trace back to New York City, where home cooks sought to replicate the popular soda fountain version using simple, accessible ingredients. Preparing an egg cream required the right ratio of syrup, milk, and seltzer, poured and stirred with just enough vigor to produce the signature foamy head. Families often experimented with flavors, swapping chocolate syrup for vanilla or strawberry, and serving them at breakfast, afternoon snacks, or after-school treats. The drink was inexpensive, quick, and versatile, embodying the resourcefulness and charm of mid-century home cooking. Today, homemade egg creams are rare, overshadowed by bottled sodas, milkshakes, or modern coffee drinks, yet they remain a nostalgic symbol of simple pleasure and creativity. Each fizzy, chocolatey sip evokes memories of childhood kitchens, neighborhood gatherings, and the joy of transforming a few basic ingredients into something celebratory. Egg creams remind us that comfort food can be as much about experience and memory as flavor, proving that even the simplest concoctions can leave a lasting impression. Hot dog casserole. Hot dog casserole is a classic example of mid-century American comfort food, combining convenience, affordability, and hearty satisfaction in one simple dish. Sliced hot dogs were layered with cooked pasta, canned vegetables, and a creamy or cheesy sauce, then baked until bubbly and golden. The result was a filling, kid-friendly meal that could stretch a few ingredients to feed an entire family, making it a go-to for weeknight dinners, potlucks, or budget-conscious households. Its charm lay in its simplicity and versatility. Cooks could swap ingredients based on what was on hand, yet the casserole always delivered familiar, comforting flavors. The origins of hot dog casserole trace back to post-war kitchens where processed foods, canned goods, and boxed staples became essential tools for busy families. Preparing it was straightforward. Layer sliced hot dogs with noodles or rice, fold in vegetables and sauce, and bake until everything melded together. Families often personalize their casseroles, adding onions, peppers, or a topping of breadcrumbs or shredded cheese for extra texture. Children loved it for its playful presentation and tasty bite-sized pieces of meat, while parents appreciated its efficiency and minimal cleanup. Today, hot dog casserole is largely nostalgic, often replaced by pasta bakes or modern convenience meals, yet it remains a symbol of resourceful, family-centered cooking. Each warm, cheesy slice tells a story of practicality, flavor, and mid-century culinary creativity. Hot dog casserole reminds us that comfort food doesn't have to be complicated or gourmet. It thrives on familiarity, simplicity, and the ability to bring people together around a table, one satisfying bite at a time. And there you have it, 30 dishes and trends that were completely normal in the 1960s America, but might make us do a double take today. From wobbly gelatin creations to sweet and savory combinations, these recipes show just how inventive and sometimes surprising mid-century home cooks could be. If you enjoyed this trip down culinary memory lane, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more nostalgic food adventures. Share your favorite retro dish in the comments. We'd love to hear what you remember from the kitchens of the past.